Hi everyone, welcome back to the 86 F's to Give podcast. I'm your host Al, and I am so happy you're here. Not just here listening to today's episode, but just here on this planet existing. I am so happy that you are here. Happy October, everyone, aka my birthday month. And if you're watching on YouTube or you see a clip of this on Instagram, I'm wearing my spooky skeleton dancing sweater. So trying to get into the vibes early. Here's your weekly reminder to follow the podcast Instagram and TikTok's accounts and subscribe on YouTube. Everything will be linked in all the descriptions. And I actually think I might start putting the video version on Spotify as well, because that is an option to me. And apparently people that do that have better watching statistics. So we'll give that a go. I didn't really know how I felt about it, but I guess it's worth a shot, right? Like, you can still just listen to it if you want. You don't have to watch. Let me know how that looks. If you're on Spotify, give it a look-see and give me a comment what you think. But yeah, let's hop into today's topic. As you can tell by the title, today we are going to be 86ing our funks. We're going to be talking about how to get out of a funk. You know, they're kind of inevitable, so I want to kind of talk about how we're going to not just stay and let them linger longer than they are welcomed. You know, they don't have to go home, but they got to get up out of here, okay? That's what we're telling our funks. And I first want to validate everyone that has also maybe been in a funk or has been in a funk before. I think that's a natural human thing that we all experience. But honestly, I feel like everyone I've talked to in the past couple weeks has been like off and just kind of in a funky, slumpy few weeks, you know, and including myself. And so clearly we're not alone in this. And I think that that's one reason I want to talk about it today, because I think a lot of people will be able to relate and maybe take something away from this episode. I am definitely somebody who experiences ups and downs. I have months where I'll have 3 months in a row where I'm so on top of my goals. I am like so motivated. Nothing can stop me. And then on the switch of a hat, that's not the saying, on a drop of a hat, I will all of a sudden just be having the funkiest of months and weeks. And I'm just like so down and nothing can get me like excited. I'm not like sad per se, but I'm just kind of in a funky, weird mood. And, you know, it's not like, I wouldn't say to the extent of like a depression. I know I definitely experience seasonal depression at times, but like I wouldn't give it that much power or that heavy of a title, but it does sometimes kind of feel like that, where it's like I can't even like get myself to get in the shower. Like, it's something I want to be better at, you know, self-regulating, getting myself out of funks and using the resources and the tools and the people I have around me to help me do that. And so that's kind of why, you know, what we want to talk about today, because this is something I experienced firsthand, and I know other people in my life have been experiencing this. And like I said, I think it's a human thing that we all just kind of go through. So I'm hoping this is relatable and people can take a little something away from today's episode. And I also wanted to talk about it because we do a lot of reframing on this episode or on this podcast. And I want to kind of use this episode to reframe my own thoughts and get myself out of a current funk that I've been in. And yeah, so hopefully this will be kind of therapeutic for myself as well as you guys listening. So I first want to talk about what a funk or a slump kind of looks like for me personally. That's really all I have to go off of. But just talking to other people, I think this is kind of similar. And I did do a little bit of research that seems like most of us experience similar symptoms, funk symptoms, if you will. So first for me, I'm really in tune with my emotions and my body. So I immediately will like physically, mentally feel groggy, foggy, just like out of it and kind of ultimately unmotivated to do pretty much anything for myself. I am good at like faking it till I make it in like work settings and, you know, getting things done that have to. But the second I get home and I'm like, oh, I should probably like cook dinner. Nah, I eat a handful of pretzels and then a couple chocolate chips and then go to bed. Like, girl. So pretty much unmotivated to do anything for myself, really. How that manifests into actual physical things is like I said, not eating properly, not falling asleep without brushing my teeth, and then having to wake up at 2 a.m. and brushing my teeth, and then, you know, maybe not moving my body as much as I'd like to. Showering feels hard, feeling sad or angry or just frustrated. I think that's really a big funk feeling, is just like that overall frustration and kind of like confusion. It's like, why am I feeling like this? And I don't want to be feeling like this, but I don't have the motivation to get myself out of it. So it's like this ongoing cycle that you just kind of get stuck in. Basically, you're just kind of doing the bare minimum. That's kind of how it manifests for me, at least. Like, I am doing just enough to survive, like eating just enough to survive, sleeping just enough to survive. And that's never really where I want to be in my life. I never want to be just doing the bare minimum, whether it's at work, for myself, whatever. Like, I want to, go above and beyond in all areas of my life. That is something that kind of, makes me even more frustrated, because I'm like, I know I can be better than this. So I did a little research on why we all kind of even fall into a funk. And there's so many different reasons. Obviously, any major life event or change can kind of trigger a funk. Breakups, not getting a job you thought you were going to get, moving, any kind of stress, grief, lack of routine, hormonal changes, all sorts of things. And then some more things that aren't maybe big life changes or big events that happen, but just kind of lack of self-love or self-confidence can kind of get us into funks. Getting a lot of negative feedback from people that we respect or hold power. So like our bosses or our coaches in athletics, like if you just are constantly getting that negative feedback, and maybe it's not even coming from them in a negative or mean way, but it's just like that's kind of what our bodies are holding on to, that can kind of slip you into a slump. And then I wanted to also point out that sometimes there actually isn't like an obvious answer, like, oh, this happened, so I'm feeling this way. And that's what happens a lot of the time for me. And that's why it's really frustrating, because I'll just like wake up and be sad, and I'll have no idea what I'm sad about or what I'm frustrated about or what I'm feeling about, And so that is kind of the most frustrating part, because I think as humans, we like to have answers as to why we feel the way we do. And so along with my research on kind of why we fall into funks, it gave some tips on how to get out of a funk. And I want to preface this that these all seem like easy fixes on paper, but we're going to kind of talk about why they're not just easy fixes. They said, exercise, move your body, do a self-care day, try to eat better, go outside, talk to a family member or friend, do a hobby you like, read or watch something you like. And these are all very good suggestions to getting out of a funk. But the hard part is that they don't talk about how to like get the motivation to do that. Like, they're not addressing that it feels literally impossible to get out of bed and go on a walk. I feel like I'm dipping a little bit into like depression here, but like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you're in a deep funk, it's just like, I don't want to do anything remotely that takes any sort of energy other than like maybe rot on the couch and watch TV. And so yes, all of these fixes are obviously going to make you feel better. If you sleep better, you're going to feel better. If you go outside, you'll probably feel better because of the sun, and like naturally that's what happens. But like, it's hard to get to that point. And so I try to tell myself, this is kind of how I go about getting that shift in mindset, is that there has to be even the smallest sliver of a shift in how you're thinking to find that little tiny piece of motivation to kick the funk, right? So like, first you have to even be aware that you're in a funk. I always talk about awareness, and like self-awareness is one of my like key values in life, and I really try to be self-aware with my own growth and how I make people feel and all those things. So that's where you really got to do the work to be in tune with your body and just be aware, like, oh, this is not my normal. And even if it has been your norm for the past few months, like that is not how you should be living. Like, you should not be tired all the time and not feel groggy all the time and not feel down and unmotivated all the time, right? Like, that is not normal. And so being aware that like there is more out there, and that there is happier, better feelings that you should be feeling and could be feeling. Obviously not every single day, but there's, you know what I mean? Like, just being aware that there's something better for you. And then I like to give myself a time frame for my funk. So say I've been in this funk for like 2 weeks, and it's coming up at the end of a month. I'm telling myself on October 1st, the funk is, we're done acting like we're in a funk. Maybe you still feel a little funky, but we're going to be done giving the funk the power, right? So that really helps me, because it's like, okay, it's September 28th. Like, I have 3 days or whatever it is to let this funk play out and to like, baby myself a little and feel bad for myself or whatever. But the second the first hits, like, and I'm talking 11:59 on September 30th p.m., the funk is done, right? That is the last minute that funk has to take control over how we're feeling and how we're existing in the world. And the second that you wake up on the next day or whatever, like, you have to go into that day being like, okay, maybe I'm waking up still feeling a little funky, but I'm not giving it the power anymore. And that's where the shift has to happen. Like, you have to like jump on that one little second of motivation. Like, I always try to think like the first time I think, oh, I should probably get out of bed, or I should probably go eat something, literally hop up, like physically get up out of bed, physically go walk into the kitchen, because that's the hardest part, is actually getting yourself to even be in the space to do something. If you're laying in bed for 6 hours straight all day and you're like, oh, I probably should have ran today, or I probably should have like gone on a walk, like at that point you're not gonna do it. Or even at that point, if that's the first time you're thinking about it, get up and go. Like, using that like split second, because it's the overthinking that gets us, right? If we think, oh, I should probably go eat something, and then you like lay there for like another 30 minutes, and then your hunger pains kind of go away for a bit, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm probably fine. Like, no, like that first time you think, oh, I should probably eat something at 6 p.m., at 6:30, whatever, I haven't eaten in a while, like I should go cook myself dinner, get up and go. And that, acting on that will help. It'll make such a big difference, because if you wait any longer, our brains naturally will come up with excuse after excuse after excuse to just continue rotting or sleeping or doing whatever we were doing. And that is kind of like a really key takeaway I would encourage people to take from this episode, is to jump on that sliver of motivation that you have, because you're not completely lacking motivation. It's just overall that like doing things feels really hard. So when you do get that split second of motivation, you have to act on it. And that's like advice I've heard for just like even getting out of bed in the morning. Like, the second your alarm goes off, literally launch yourself out of bed, like actually physically like scurry out of bed, because then you're like up and you kind of shake yourself awake, and it's like, okay, well now I'm standing up, like let me go do something, instead of snoozing your alarm, going back to half asleep for 30 minutes or whatever, snoozing again. It's not worth it to keep wallowing and allowing yourself to just stay in that place. And so the last piece I would say is to just kind of take it day by day, right? Like, it's not, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I'm completely out of this funk, like let's go. But, add in one goal at first, and then when you kind of conquer that, add in another goal, so that you're not kind of overwhelming yourself. And each day or week or whatever that goes by post-funk, you'll be able to slowly get yourself back to your tip-top shape and your best self and the best version of yourself and the person that you want to be. So quickly, I wanted to kind of reframe a few thoughts that I have during a funk. And the first and biggest one, I think, for me is that I've already messed up my goals for this long, like it doesn't matter now. And that is like so toxic for yourself, because like, yeah, okay, you haven't ran as much as you wanted to this week, or you haven't, read as many books as you wanted to this month or whatever, but like, let's not let that ruin next week or next month or the rest of the year. Like, let's actually take that as motivation to kind of hop back on track and get what we said we were going to do done, right? No one is perfect. It's hard to do something every single day or the same exact thing every single week. Like, that is difficult. Things come up. Life happens. That is okay. Give yourself grace and say, okay, I kind of screwed up on my goal this week. I am going to be better next week. Like, without a doubt, I have to do what I say I'm going to do and be better. The next thought that I have often during funks is that I'm all alone, or I have no one to talk to, or no one's here. And that is just simply like not true. You always there's somebody, whether that is a therapist, a friend, a family member, a sibling, whatever it is, like there is somebody that you have that you can lean on, even if it's just like, hey, I need to vent, or hey, I need an accountability partner, whatever it may be, like there is somebody. And I know when you're in a funk, it feels very lonely, but continuing to fuel that feeling by saying, hey, I have no one, oh my God, I feel so alone, like that is only going to make it worse. Like when you're in these moments, like lean on the people around you, lean on the people you trust, and that will help you significantly get out of this funk. And the last thought that I want to reframe is, I'm so tired. I have no energy. I can't do anything. I'm just so tired. And that is also not totally true, because for me, it's like, okay, I'm getting up and going to work. Like I can do things that other people are asking me to do. Why can't I do the things that I'm asking me to do? Why can't I hold myself accountable? Take myself out on a walk, take myself outside for 5 minutes. Like I have to be able to be enough of a reason to want to do those things that better myself. It doesn't have to be somebody else. But back to my point about leaning on people, if you do need an accountability partner, ask a friend, like, hey, can you text me 8 times today until I tell you I'm up and I'm out on a walk, like whatever it may be. And like, if that's too much to ask of someone, like maybe they're not the person you need to be leaning on. Find someone that you know you can trust and that will help hold you accountable in moments like this, because we all need people to kind of be on our ass sometimes and be like, no, you said you were going to do this. Let's go. I'm going to come do it with you, or we're going to do this, at the same time, but in our own spaces, like whatever. It's like, you have to find those people that are going to push you. But saying like, oh, I'm just so tired, I can't do anything. Like, yes, I get that, but it's like, you're not that tired because you're sitting on your phone and you're scrolling all night long. Like, if you're that tired, you would fall asleep and go to sleep. Like, and I know I'm like, trust me, I do this. Like, I'm literally talking about myself. So, use that hour that you spend scrolling and either actually go to sleep and get energy, or go do something productive that is going to bring serotonin, give you a dopamine boost, like whatever it is. Like, haul yourself out and be like, okay, it's been enough. I've done enough pity partying. I've done enough wallowing. I've done enough rotting on the couch. Let's do something. And I'm literally like talking to myself right now. Like, I'm looking at myself in the mirror because this has been me the past like 3 weeks. The last thing I want to say, which I talk about in all of these episodes, is that this is not going to happen overnight. That example I gave earlier of saying, oh, on September 30th, 11:59, like I'm done my funk, and October 1st, it's going to be a lot better and whatever. Like, that was a real example that I gave myself. And it's a couple days into October and I'm still feeling a little funky, but the shift in mindset is what took place, right? Like, I was able to be like, okay, we're done giving the funk the power, and that is what needs to happen. You're not going to wake up and not feel funky, but we're going to wake up and decide to do something about it and try to fix it, right? So that is kind of my tips, my thoughts on funks, getting over funks. If you are also in a funk right now, like most of my friends and I are, you are not alone. We are going through this with you. And if you need to vent or anything, call me. I love a good vent session. I love listening to people and being an ear for people to just dump out whatever they need to. You are not alone. You are also funking right now. But I hope maybe this episode gave you a few little tips, mindset shifts to kind of get yourself going into that post-funk stage. So I wanted to thank everyone for listening and watching episode 11 of the 86 F's to Give podcast. I am so grateful you're here. Like I said in the beginning, it means the world to me. And yes, thank you. Also, thank you for so much positive feedback on the episode with my mom. She was so nervous, and I think she absolutely crushed it. And it seems like you guys really liked that episode. So if you have not listened to that, go listen to that one. It's a really, really sweet one with my mother. But yeah, if no one's told you recently, I love you and I'm proud of you, and you are doing the dang thing. Keep up the amazing work. And yeah, stay tuned for next week's episode 12. All right. Love you guys. Bye.